Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I know I look a little crazy right now, but I am spiraling. Absolutely spiraling. So we're gonna do a face mask. Think of a little, skin health while we're working on our mental health. And working on our mental health means when we feel like shit and we feel like everything is spiraling and everything is not going right in our lives, we like to read Reddit stories to remind ourselves that other people also have very serious problems too. And one of the problems I'm having is my kitten currently chewing on the tripod that you guys are sitting on. So if you hear that, so incredibly sorry, but I just can't be bothered right now. But if you guys like this kind of stuff, give it a thumbs up. I know kind of Reddit stories are totally overdone, but I'm a yapper. So if you guys want to hear me yap, okay. So the first one is going to be kind of a long one. It's a wedding / in-law situation. It is, am I the a-hole for denying my future in-laws only request for the wedding, therefore ruining our whole relationship? I need some advice on this situation from an unbiased source. Me, 23 female, and my fiance, 27 male, are getting married in December. We got engaged in April, and I pretty much did all the planning myself, with the help of my mom in the first few weeks. From the very beginning, my fiance and I had a plan laid out for the bridal party. That was one of the first things decided since before I had the ring on my finger, including flower girls and ring bearers. We decided that the flower girl would be my sister, who's also my matron of honor's baby, who will be pushed in a stroller down the aisle by my 10 female cousin, who would be considered a junior bridesmaid. For the ring bearer, my fiance really wanted to include his best friend's son. For context, his friend has not had custody of his child for most of his life. Long story. And it could be a little difficult to arrange his attendance. He will be around a year and a half at the time of the wedding. As a result, we decided that we would also have my two cousins, 5 and 7 male, the brothers of the junior bridesmaids, be ring bearers as well. This way, it's no pressure on the friend and everything will go smoothly whether his child can come or not, so whether the baby can come or not. The older boys will help the younger boy walk down the aisle holding his hands. We decided on these specific children because they are closely related / close to us and are the right age. Shortly after the engagement, I asked my sister and my cousin, the mom of the children, if their kids could be in the wedding and gave details of what they should wear, etc. The kids and both parents were so excited. This was great and everything was going according to plan until a few weeks ago when my mother-in-law asked us if we would consider adding another flower girl. For context, my fiance's brother / best man, 24 male, lives across the country from us and has recently told us around 4 months ago that he has a new girlfriend, 21 female. This girlfriend has a child from a previous relationship, female 10 months. They have known each other about 7 or 8 months. He is very serious about her and we are very happy for them. He has taken a sort of father role in her daughter's life, which is adorable. He is expressing interest in marrying her in the future, but they are taking it slow. My fiance and I have never met this girlfriend or her child, but we are thrilled for his brother, so we, of course, invited them both to the wedding. Now, this is where things get a little messy. I've always gotten along great with my fiance's family. They have always been so sweet, kind, accepting, and well-meaning. They welcome newcomers with open arms, including me, and have really become my family. I especially had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. She is the sweetest lady and would do anything for me and any one of her children. She lives very close to us and my family lives far. She was always the first to say that it's our wedding, meaning mine and my fiance, to encourage me to make my own decisions in wedding planning and not let my mother sway them. She has become like a mother to me in so many ways. With that being said, they are also very loving and accepting of my fiance's brother's girlfriend and her baby from afar, which is great. I'm so glad that they are so supportive. They even started calling her baby their first grandchild and flew across the country to meet them. Wow, That's kind of intense. They haven't been together that long. Like, what did she say, 7 or 8 months? And they already calling them the grandchild. Okay, loving family. With this context in mind, a couple weeks ago when my mother-in-law and I were hanging out, just the two of us, she asked me if I would consider adding the girlfriend's baby as a flower girl. She said fiance's brother keeps bringing it up and that would be really cute. I politely told her that we already had a flower girl, my niece, and a junior bridesmaid assigned to push her in a carriage. She responded by saying, essentially, what's one more? She will probably be able to walk by herself down the aisle by then, 14, 15 months. I kind of just said I would think about it with my fiance and change the subject. Later on, I told my fiance about it and we both agreed that it wasn't a good idea because 1, we already had the role filled and it would be sort of awkward to have a baby randomly walking next to the stroller with the other baby. Totally agree. 2, if she needed help walking, it wouldn't be easy for the 10-year-old to juggle 2 kids down the aisle. 3, we have never met her before and she might not be comfortable walking down the aisle of a wedding where she knows nobody. And 4, they aren't married, and worst case scenario, they break up and she is in all the pictures. I know that sounds harsh, but I come from a family where traditionally, if you're not engaged, you don't get a +1, no matter who you are. I'm not following this rule and everyone's significant other is invited, but that doesn't mean they get to be in the wedding. My fiance and I were on the same page about this. We agreed to keep the bridal party the way it is. He talked to his brother and essentially told him it was a no and everything was fine and everyone was on the same page until the other night. We were at mother-in-law's house again, but this time my fiance was there too. Once again, mother-in-law brings up the flower girl thing and my fiance tells her that we've already have the position filled and that's that. But then my mother-in-law tells my fiance how much it must mean to his brother since he keeps bringing it up. This brings out the empath in my fiance and he starts to have an open mind about it. Meanwhile, I'm still against it and I start to say so with some of the reasons I listed above. My mother-in-law points out that all of the children in the wedding are from my side except 1, and that's their side. That their side doesn't have any representation. Meanwhile, this is because there are no children on his side. She also points out that there are 3 little boys in the wedding, and why can't there be 3 little girls? At this point, she's convinced my fiance and I am an island. I'm still defending my position alone. She wasn't being rude or anything, but every reason I have, she seems to have a rebuttal. She's saying things like, they will get married one day anyways, and she's already part of the family. Then I start saying, we will think about it, and she is like, so that sounds like a no, and I was like, we will consider it. So then it was awkward, and I was about to cry, so I changed the subject. The whole time, I felt like I looked like a major asshole. It was really bad. My fiance since apologized to me for being open to the idea in front of his mother when we had decided against it. From what he believed about his mother, he figured that she would just have an open conversation with us and not try to push her way. I figured it would not go that way. Later that night, he called his brother and told him it was for sure no, and we already asked other people. His brother was sad but understood. I felt really bad and guilty for making my fiance feel bad. In hindsight, I really should not have because of what followed afterwards. This is where my previous post left off. A lot has happened in the last few days. I was worried immediately after that conversation. I'm pretty sure the conversation at the house where the fiance kind of became wishy-washy. I was worried immediately after that conversation that his mother would tell his brother that my fiance was for it and I was against it while we were at her place. My fiance said that he knows his mother well and that she wouldn't do that. He clearly doesn't know her very well. That next morning, his brother calls him wanting to talk. The first words out of his mouth are, after our conversation last night, I talked to Mom, and she said that you were wanting to have her as the flower girl, and your fiance, me, wasn't. Just as I thought would happen. And he goes on to say, as your brother, I want to make sure that you get what you want, since it's your wedding. I was pissed. My fiance told him that we would still talk about it but we had already agreed not to have her as the flower girl, and that he should not have seemed so open to it last night. The whole day we discussed it. I felt like an a-hole and was tempted to cave to keep the peace, but the only reason my fiance was wanting it was because it meant a lot to his brother. But the conclusion we came to was that it's not his brother's wedding. So we called him up a few hours later and told him no for the third time. He was upset, but at least it was over, or so we thought. He texted him the next morning again, expressing how hurt he was by it, but at that point, we were like, the decision is made. It's our wedding. Please get over it. And then my fiance's brother enlisted their mother. She calls my fiance and basically attacks him for almost an hour on the phone. My fiance did a great job of sticking up for us and sticking to his guns. His mom went as far as to say that my relationship with his whole family will forever be affected by this decision. That one hurt. And that my fiance's relationship with his brother will forever be altered. At this point, this was all going way too far. We ended up talking to my fiance's sister and found out that his brother no longer wants to be best man anymore, and neither of them want to speak to us for a while. They said that this won't be resolved until we give in. I'm at a loss for words. This doesn't even feel like a real situation, to be honest. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. We are definitely not going to give in. At this point, all that it would tell them is that if they push hard enough, they can manipulate us. It just really hurts because we had such a great relationship before this. Am I the a-hole for saying no to their request? This is crazy. Sorry that one was kind of long, but like, this is, obviously you're not the a-hole. And I think if there are potential like moments where communication can be better in this situation, and I'm going to take this for what it is and not that the fiance is like bowing down to you and then you're not some bridezilla, but like not crazy at all. If this was girlfriend of a year, 2 years, and this was her daughter, that's essentially his stepkid at that point. Like after a certain amount of time, that child is welcomed into the family as part of the family, but 8 months is not a long time. Also, your logistics make total sense. You have a baby, a 10-year-old, and then they want to also add in a 10-month-old. Is what would they be? They'd still be a small child. They'd still be a baby in my eyes, and potentially would need to be carried as well. So now you have this whole logistical problem. You don't know this person, like you said. They're going to be in your photos. This kid doesn't know you. They're going to be scared of you. It's definitely risky putting a baby I feel like you could get away with because of the stroller. And like, so long as they're around people a lot, that aisle situation is probably not going to intimidate them very well. You can kind of acclimate them to that. But at a certain age, a kid starts having like, can start feeling scared or having more outbursts, and that like step kid is now approaching that age where they are a little bit more unpredictable in this situation. So I totally don't think you're the a-hole. I think your fiance needs to grow a backbone. I totally understand keeping the peace, and the way you communicate with each other's family is different. Like in my personal life, the way I communicate with my family is entirely different than the way my husband communicates with his family. Like we approach things differently. So I get that like you may have approached your family a lot more like intense or firm, and whereas he kind of tiptoes around it and then becomes firm. I totally understand your fiance's side on that, but I do think he should have been more firm with your mother-in-law early on. And I kind of, if they are willing to skip your wedding for a girlfriend of 8 months, baby, like, you don't want them at your wedding. I know that sounds shitty and really awful for your fiance, but if they're willing to skip it for that, they don't need to be there. Like, they don't want anything to do with you. They're always going to have something bad about you. Just continue to get married. Like, if they want to be there, then let them be there, but they are no longer part of the wedding party. And sorry, my arm is falling asleep. They're no longer part of the wedding party. And like, they need to behave. They absolutely need to behave. If they don't, they're gone. Easy peasy. And they need to apologize before they show up. Ooh, this is a fun one. Am I the a-hole for wearing a bikini in my own yard? Hi Reddit. So I, 15F, live in a neighborhood with no HOA. Let me say that again. No HOA. That's one of the reasons my family moved here in the first place. Anyway, we have a pool in our backyard. It's on a patio that sits on top of a hill, and there's more yard at the bottom of the hill. From certain spots on the road, you can see parts of the patio in the lower yard. Now it's summer, and like most girls with a pool, I like to swim and tan. Yes, I wear bikinis. No, they're not inappropriate or too revealing. The one I was wearing yesterday covered my whole butt and most of my chest. While I was tanning, I took a little break to play with my dogs down in the lower yard, still in my bikini. 5 minutes later, I went back up to the patio. An hour later, my mom got a text from a neighbor. Let's call her Sally. Here's what she said. Hello, Mom's name. It has come to my attention that your daughter, my name, was in your yard today in a revealing swimsuit, and she was very visible from the road where many young children can see her. I suggest you buy your daughter some more appropriate swimsuits. Have a nice day. Sally. My mom was furious, and her response was legendary. Hello, Sally. My daughter is a child, so I don't see why adults are worrying about what she is wearing. I see grown men mowing their lawns shirtless every day, so I don't see the issue with my daughter swimming in a bikini. Please don't come to me with this issue again, and please don't tell me what I should or can buy for my daughter. Have a blessed day. I was so impressed, and guess what? My mom took me to the mall that same day and bought me a super cute bikini that was way more revealing than the original one. Today, I was out tanning in my new bikini, minding my own business, when my mom got another text from Sally. I won't repeat it word for word, but it basically said, your daughter can wear slutty clothes inside your house, but I will not tolerate it outside. Yep, she actually said that about me, a 15-year-old. My mom hasn't responded yet because she doesn't want to say something she'll regret. So, am I the a-hole for wearing a completely normal bikini in my backyard, or is Sally just being a creep with too much time? Okay, update. Thank you to everyone who took the time to read this, and thank you for all the comments and upvotes. Here's a few things to clarify first. 1, I always wear sunscreen anytime I'm outside. I like a good tan, but I also love my skin. Love to hear coming from a girl within the last 4 months, 6 months that has had 2 things removed for biopsy. Please wear your sunscreen. Oh my God. Number 2, I do live in the Bible Belt, so it's very likely Sally goes to church. 3, in my neighborhood, there are not really any people my age. It's mostly older people and young kids. 4, I've also lived in this house since I was 5. Most houses don't have fences between them, which, okay, makes sense. That was weird for me when I came from the West Coast to the Bible Belt. Fences aren't always solid fences. I grew up where there was cinder block fences mostly if you lived in a neighborhood. So everyone wanted their privacy. Backyards were private, and here that's not as common. And I found in the Bible Belt in southern states, even in the East Coast, that's not as common. So it makes sense that people could see into the yard. Okay, so now another update. This was my mom's response. Sally, how dare you call my daughter that? That is a horrible word to call anyone, especially a teenager. Secondly, you won't tolerate it. What are you going to do? Call the police for a teenager wearing a swimsuit? That's ridiculous. Never contact me again, or I will be reporting you for harassment and spying on minors. From Mom. So far, Sally has not contacted us again. Hopefully, she never will. Of course, you're not the a-hole. It's not like you're nude in the backyard, and it's not like you're trying to, even if you were trying to get anybody's attention, you're a minor, you are a child. Nobody should be looking at you like that. And let's be real, I know we live in a world where people will look at you like that, but it is not your responsibility to police them. It is the adults in their life, it is the adults around you to keep you safe and police those people who are objectifying a child. So not the a-hole at all. Oh my gosh, I love this top comment. Not the a-hole. Do you know her church? Because she absolutely has the church she cares about. If you do, send a message to the church leadership telling them that you've caught her peeping at children repeatedly, and they hope they can address it at the next service. That's so great. And other people are saying expose her in the neighborhood WhatsApp or Facebook group chat. I don't necessarily think that, because if you do live in the Bible Belt, I think that will open you up to like criticism that I don't think you deserve. And people on Facebook are ruthless and mean and won't care that you're a child. They're going to objectify you and say awful things about you. So I don't think putting it on Facebook or anything like that is a good idea. But I just keep coming back to, this is totally weird. Like as a kid, I wore swimsuits all the time. Like if anything, like it's so long as you're not like out there like trying to flirt with the neighborhood dads or putting yourself in unsafe situations, you are in your yard. Like who cares what this lady thinks? Like she can go kick rocks. Like, because at first my thought was maybe there's a man in the house and she doesn't trust this man, because we see that sometimes where women try and police other women because they don't trust the men in their lives. But I do think, since you said you're in the Bible Belt and you never mentioned a man in that house, I'd be willing to bet this is a religious thing, that she's trying to police you with religion as opposed to because she can't control a man, if that makes sense. Okay, here's the last one for this video. I'll probably, maybe one more. This one's really short. Am I the a-hole for ruining my family vacation because of my period? I, 15F, just got back from going around Europe for 2 weeks with my parents and 2 younger brothers, 11 and 13. A few days before our flight home, I got my period and it was bad. Being already tired from traveling and being away from home didn't help with my nausea, cramps, and no energy. To make it worse, we had a full day of walking and sightseeing planned ahead of us. I asked my mom if I could just stay at the hotel and rest, as I was in pain and really couldn't be asked for any of it. She told me she knew it wasn't pleasant, but to try and push through, as we only go abroad once a year and she doesn't want me to ruin the vibe. Okay. It was awful. We spent the morning climbing up this hill to see a view of a city from a church, and my brother the whole way through kept complaining about me needing to take breaks frequently to sit down when my parents just basically left them and didn't tell them to shut up. What really pissed me off was them loudly embarrassing me in public at a restaurant about how many bathroom breaks I needed, and they kept telling me I was killing the mood. Off topic, but those free street bathrooms in Paris are nasty. I bet. Like public bathrooms anywhere are typically disgusting. When we got back to the hotel, I got into a massive argument with my mother and said a few things that I admit were out of line, and I regret that. She told me to remember how much money it cost for all of us to take this trip and told me to be grateful. The final day of our trip came, and she finally just let me stay at the hotel and rest. I know my parents worked really hard for us to go on vacation, and I was a bit rude to her, but I was in pain, and I feel like everyone could have at least tried to pretend to give a shit about me. That really sucks. I feel for her. I just kind of reading through these comments really quick. A lot of them are telling this girl, like, you need to go talk to an OB, but also, unfortunately, it takes a lot for them to listen to you, and I understand that it can be really disheartening if your mother is also dismissing your stuff, because there is a certain part of a period where it is a suck it up and deal with it, because this is part of our lives. But that's only like up to a certain amount. If it's debilitating for you, that is not something that you can just say, oh, I'm gonna take some Midol and deal with it. Now, I do understand your parents' hesitation. Like, you're 15, leaving you alone in a hotel room in Paris seems like a crazy idea. I'm not a parent, but I think a reasonable compromise from your parents would be to recognize that, like, hey, you're having a really awful time. Like, you're probably not eating what you normally do, and, like, planes mess me up. So yeah, your symptoms are probably going to be exacerbated because of the factors of your vacation. So your parents could have accommodated you better while still making sure that you were with them. They chose something, someone saying that they think they found where they were going to go, but I can't find it again. But you said you had to climb a hill to, I wonder if there was any way to take a car or a trolley or something as far as possible up the hill, maybe with one of the parents, just to get a little bit further if they wanted to sightsee up the hill, and or maybe picking like something else to do. I don't know. And also, nowhere in here does it mention that the parents tried to get her any sort of medication. Women in France also have periods, and they also have awful periods just like us. So I'm sure you could have gone into a pharmacy of some sort and gotten something for the daughter. Like, there just could have been some more accommodation, and I understand, but it overall sounds like your parents are a-holes in this situation. They definitely could have accommodated. I've had times when I was a teenager where things were just awful. I've had times where my mom has had to come to my work and bring me a pair of shorts because stuff happens. There's definitely, like, as a woman, you can accommodate your child who's having an awful time and understand that it changes things. And at that age, you could have a really bad period. Like, I know girls where it was totally normal for them, and other girls where it was excruciating. I had a friend who had endometriosis, and we were in high school. Like, it can be really, really bad. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what's happening with her, but even just a normal period at that age can be really shitty. Like, my periods really didn't get better until I was probably like 26, 27, and then I feel like I finally leveled out and could really predict for the most part what was happening, but there were still times where it was like debilitating, and there was nothing wrong with me that I know of. But this whole thing, I feel for this girl, and it sucks. You're abroad and you feel that way, because I felt that way abroad too as an adult, like, where not abroad, like out of the country, but like I felt that way on vacation, where suddenly it's like, shit, I'm on my period and this sucks. Like, I'm supposed to be active, I'm supposed to be having fun, I'm supposed to be swimming, and like, this sucks. We all know the first like couple days really suck. Poor girl, not the a-hole. Okay guys, that's it for this one. I had fun reading those. I am still spiraling a little bit, but it's officially 9:30, so I'm gonna try and go to bed. I hope you guys have an amazing evening or day or whatever it is when you're watching this, and leave your comments down below. This was fun. We'll do it again. Oh, bye.